Stephanie, thank you very much for that. Joining me now is Morgan Murphy. He's former Defense Department press secretary and former senior advisor to Special Envoy for Ukraine, and he is also a U.S. Senate candidate for Alabama. Thank you very much for being here, Morgan. Good to see you. So the president was successful in his first term, getting rid of ISIS in Syria, or at least putting a lid on it. It's kind of branching out a little bit now, but he really dealt with it successfully in his first term. Can he deal with it now in Nigeria, which is an area we don't usually involve ourselves in?
Well, I think the Boko Haram and ISIS in Nigeria would say, yeah, he's put the hurt on him again. The Department of War has just shown its incredible reach, that it can reach deep into Africa there and hit targets that might think they're unreachable, but the long arm of the United States can get to them. It was an impressive strike using a lot of tomahawks, as Pete Hegseth said last night, and is defending Christianity in a part of the world that really needs it right now. And it was especially meaningful coming on Christmas, as it did.
We should mention, by the way, there are over 60,000 Christians who've been killed, mostly by Muslim terrorists, over the past 15 years in Nigeria. So it's just a horrendous situation there. We've heard a lot of Nigerians have come here to escape that violence. So it's important for the United States. It's in our special interest, but even more so, the situation in our own hemisphere in Venezuela. There's a third boat now that we are approaching and apparently about to board to try a big tanker with oil. I'm just wondering how long Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, can hang on. He's surprised me by his endurance in not leaving and not bending to any of the threats that we've made, the very real threats.
Well, desperation can lead to some stupid actions sometimes, and Maduro certainly proved that. He's willing to bankrupt his whole country. I mean, you think one of these tankers, David, just one of these tankers, probably holds about $200 million worth of crude. And that is a huge lifeline to Venezuela. They're selling that to China. So we get a twofer on each of these. We're hurting China's ability to project power in our own hemisphere, and we're ridding, hopefully, our hemisphere of a narco-terrorist.
Well, it's really a threefer because there are also socialist dictatorships that rely on that Venezuelan oil, in particular Cuba, which has been controlled by the communists since 1959, for goodness sakes. And then you have Nicaragua as well, which had a brief period of democracy over the past 45 years, but it's essentially been held by the same guy who was in power in 79 during the Sandinista Revolution is in power now. So they simply could not survive without their Venezuelan oil, correct?
That's right. That's right. And Venezuela, few Americans really understand that Venezuela sits on the largest crude reserve in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia. And what Trump is doing is sending a really clear message to China not to mess around in our hemisphere. They would love to do here what we have in, the Pacific. We've got allies in Korea, in Japan, in Taiwan, and certainly in the Philippines. And they want to replicate that here in our own hemisphere. And they probably want to sail one of their new aircraft carriers between us and our first island chain in the Bahamas. Yeah. But under Trump, and with the Golden Fleet coming, that's not going to happen.
All right. Finally, Zelensky. He's taken a break from the Ukraine winter to go to Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. I believe he arrives on Sunday. What chance do you give this particular meeting from coming up with a peace plan that both sides can agree on?
Well, with Jared Kushner leading the team there, I think that they're getting incrementally closer, and we're hearing, bits and pieces, and we've heard that really all year. But it's important to keep pushing the ball because the closer they get, the more meetings they have, the more talks they have. I mean, just remember under Biden, there were no talks with Putin at all. There was no talk of peace. It was just an endless loss of life. And I think Trump and his team are to be applauded for that, for reaching out and for trying to seek an end to this horrible war. It's the bloodiest war in Europe since 1945. Staggering amount of loss of life.
Let's hope there's good news in 26. Morgan Murphy, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
David,
appreciate
great
it.
To see you. Thanks for having me.